I read West Side Story by Irving Shulman, and one of the quotes from the very beginning of the book reads as, "Until the Puerto Ricans came upon the scene, then the gangs had a purpose and target, and the city became much safer for everyone except the Puerto Ricans. They had come here without invitation, so whatever disaster befall on them was of their own doing." So, one of the major themes and conflicts of the whole book is race. So there were two gangs, the Jets and the Sharks. The Jets were American and they were white, and the Sharks were Puerto Rican immigrants. So the story takes place in West Side Manhattan, New York, during the 1960s, which was a time when there was a surge of Puerto Rican immigrants coming to the United States, and that's one of the major conflicts of the book. So these gangs didn't just hate each other because they were rival gangs, they also hated each other because they were different races and they had different cultures. And the Jets kind of held the belief that the Sharks, who were Puerto Rican, were invading their land and they were not welcome because they were changing everything with just their presence. And the Sharks felt like they were treated unfairly. Even though they were American citizens, they felt as they were being treated as second class citizens just because they were from a different place and because they had a different culture. And they felt that that was unfair. And for that reason, there was a rivalry and a hatred between them. Another main theme of the book is love. And so there's three main characters. There's Tony, who is the leader of the Jets. He represents the Jets. And there's Bernardo, who is the leader of the Sharks. But there's a girl named Maria, who is the sister of Bernardo. She's also Puerto Rican. And she and Tony fall in love. And so she kind of represents that bridge of the two cultures, the two gangs colliding with each other. And that's when we'll see what will happen when these two gangs have to face each other and have to come to some kind of resolve. And that's also where the another major thing comes in, which is violence. These gangs, they were teenagers and they really didn't know how to express their thoughts. And when they did express their thoughts, they were looked down upon on by the adults just because they were members of a gang. And so they really could only resort to violence as a form of expression and communication. But obviously, doing that can lead to very bad things, and that's something that happens in the book. I think that this book is really interesting to read because it touches on complex topics that are very much relatable to real life, even up today, not just back in the 1960s, with topics such as immigration and when two cultures need to coexist with each other, and when people have very different ideas and thoughts. It touches on how they should communicate with each other and treat each other as equals, and what happens when they don't treat each other as equals and they resort to violence. And that this book touches on those topics in a very uncomplex way, in a way that young adults can understand. And it even includes romance. It has kind of a love story, so that really appeals to the younger audience. And I just think it's really a good book to read if you want to have a book that has a really good story but also has a lot of meaning behind what it's trying to say.